Let's talk small business. The Real Talk, No BS podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to grow and actually enjoy the ride. I'm Mitchell Wilson. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Matt Holman, founder of Commerce Catalyst and Subscription Prescription, a growing community built for e-commerce operators, being the Commerce Catalyst, who want practical insights, better conversations, and real connection. So, of course, Matt also works deeply in that subscription space through his work in Subscription Prescription, say that 10 times, where he helps brands improve how they acquire, retain, and grow their subscriber base. Now, what makes Matt's perspective valuable is that it's grounded in what he sees across real businesses. Through the Commerce Catalyst, he's constantly around those founders and operators sharing what's actually working right now in e-commerce. So, if you run a product-based business or sell online, this conversation will help you think differently about subscriptions, customer experience, and how to build a more sustainable or build more and sustainably grow. Okay? Matt, let's talk small business.
Thanks for having me on, Mitchell.
No, thanks for coming on. So before we get into the stuff, I always love to find about your journey in business. Where did it all start and how did you get to where we are today?
Yeah, I think a fun place to start for me is I was a marketing director at a technology company that does shipping technology for e-commerce brands. This was 6 or 7 years ago. Doing that and wondering if this was what my career, been there for a couple of years, wondering if this is where I'm going to, continue to try to work, where my opportunities are. And at the same time, our CEO's sister started working at the company and I had a huge crush on her. We started dating. And at one point it became kind of clear that, for my own personal sanity in that relationship, but also for some of my budding career goals, it'd make more sense for me to kind of jump ship and go be an entrepreneur. And I got a really great opportunity to join my business partner, David Bradley, in a subscription company called Autoship Cloud. And so works with Shopify WooCommerce. So we started there, continued to date my now wife. We have a baby. I've got some wonderful stepkids. My brother-in-law and I are close now after, a little bit of rockiness there. But the fun part for me was it's such an incredible inflection moment because when I joined the Autoship Cloud, my business partner there to co-found and lead marketing, I started a little meetup at the same time with a few other friends that were all at bootstrapped companies, small companies, and they were the only marketing person there. So there's just like 4 of us meeting. And that group slowly grew, the course of over a few months grew into, 5, 10 people. And then we started hosting these larger get-togethers with 50, 60 people to hear a speaker. This was like right at the end of COVID. So we also kind of caught some of that momentum of people wanting to connect and be in person again.
More connection.
It's just kind of fun that, this idea of like, branching out in entrepreneurship, it was the time to the best relationship I've ever had in my life, starting on this path of subscription software and now consulting, and the community all kind of branched from that one moment.
Awesome. Yeah. So in terms of the meetup, a few mates getting together, how long did it take between that to giving it a name and more people joining?
Well, the funny part was we started, I think we were about 5 or 6 months in, and I wanted to start a Slack group for people to join in to continue talking after a meetup. And so I had to name it Marketer. So I had to find a name to name the Slack group. Yeah. Because it needs a domain name, right? And we picked Marketers Unite. And so it ran like that for about a year, and then it was Sharehouse, rebranded. And then finally, this was before AI was super popular. Commerce Catalyst was literally 5 minutes with an AI chat prompt trying to figure out a great name for a Utah meetup for e-commerce leaders. So, but yeah, it's certainly a weird journey. Like looking at it, I think early on, all we really did was we would post on LinkedIn that we were going to do the meetup. And then we would take a picture of the people that showed up, and then we would post saying, hey, we had a great chat talking about this and this. If you want to come, like, send me a message. And That's how we went from 4 people to 6 people to 8 people to 10. And it was always more than 10 that wanted to come. It was just 10 that maybe that showed up. And then we took a swing, and just a friend of mine said, "Hey, these are really, really great. These are really helpful. You should do a bigger one." So at that time, I don't know anything about events. I'm not an event person, at least then. I'm a SaaS marketer and all that. So I just invited a bunch of people on to be speakers that I knew were more popular and cooler than I was. And I moderated the panel and did a little bit of marketing stuff to say like, "Hey, if you want to come join our Slack, one of these speakers is donating an hour of their time. We're going to randomly pick somebody if you go post and say hello in the Slack group, and then you get to pick which one you want to meet with." So it's just really simple things, nothing profound. I think the real power is just, we just kept showing up, kept doing it. And then at one point I was like, "Hey, we should do a conference. There are other conferences all around. Conference. This can't be that hard. Like, I don't need 50 people to run a 200-300 person conference." I mean, you don't need 50 people, but 5 or 10 certainly helps. And so, now we're a few years into that. We're hosting our 4th conference in April and another one in August. We acquired a golf event. It's gone from a little side passion project to a full-fledged business that's taking up more and more of my time. But it's part of this journey. I've unlocked what really makes me passionate and how I like to show up in the world in a way that's also generates revenue and creates value for people.
So you've shown up, I guess you're enjoying it, having fun, meeting with these people. Yeah. It's not just it's a job. And that's exactly the same as this podcast today. Of course, we had a bit of a laugh before we got on, looking a little bit like twins with the matching haircut by choice.
Exactly.
If you are just listening, maybe you have a look on YouTube. Hey, listen, you're constantly around founders and operators. Mm-hmm. What's the most common challenges you're hearing right now?
Wow. It's almost always around time management and where to focus and where to put time. It's about, is it worth me staying up 3 hours at night to put together this presentation deck? Or should I try to scramble some money together to pay somebody to make the presentation deck? And then with AI, it's the fear or threat or opportunity of using AI or not using AI. That's kind of I think the very recent one, at least over the last couple of months, that are really compelling. So, and I think the time management one, that's one that's on my mind all the time. And everybody that I talk to as well, is how do you, especially when you're running a business early on, you don't necessarily have the funds to pay somebody to do all the work that you need to do. Or if you do, you now don't have anything to pay yourself. And so that's just a really hard thing to try to figure out.
And look, I personally deal with a lot of founders doing the same thing. And it really comes back to, we need to prioritize the things that actually move the needle in business. Mm-hmm. What is actually going to make difference? A little bit harder if you haven't got a strategy or clear on what those things are.
Absolutely.
So what do you think that separates yourself, where you see the businesses that are growing from the ones that feel stuck?
Yeah, I do think that focus and doubling down on opportunity and finding the right opportunity is kind of the best way to think about that. There's always so many opportunities, so many distractions, and it's funny because at the same time, it's also this, you want to be open and try to receive, because you just never know what's going to come your way. But the truth is, you have to get better at saying no. You have to get better at saying no to things that aren't aligning with your business, that aren't aligning with your short-term goals, and still find a little bit of time here or there to work on long-term things. So for me personally, right now, I'm in this process of, say I might have a day where I have all these meetings back to back, and then I spend the evening on calls, on follow-ups. And so I'm writing emails and sending proposals and all this stuff. And I'm thinking about, and so what worries me is I'm not getting enough time to keep honing and building with AI tools that can help my business. And I do have a few things I'm doing with OpenClaw and Claude. So I'm entertaining this idea, and if I'm saying it here on being recorded, then it probably means I'm going to actually have to do it, which is I'm going to start just locking in my first hour of the morning for no meetings, and so that I can do follow-ups from the previous day, if anything that I haven't gotten to yet, so that when I do have some time in the evenings, I can use that time to work on long-term stuff. So I'm trying to find. And so what I found in the past, when I restrict the amount of time I allow myself to get meetings with, I start becoming more selective with telling people no, or telling people in the future we should chat. Because in the past, I've been a, yes, let's chat, or yes, this could be great, or oh, wow, this could be amazing. But instead, it's more like, no, this is not exactly what I need right now. It sounds interesting. I'd love to talk to you in a few weeks when we have some more time, but let's reach out, connect then. And then that way I stay focused, especially with a young son now, that it's just every minute that I give away to somebody else is a minute that I don't have for myself and for my family and for what I want to work on. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is trying to just work on a little bit more tight time management so that I have the time to do what needs to be done, but also to still be able to find time to build for the future.
Look, I totally agree with you. And saying no is harder than saying yes. It's easy to say yes to everything. So yeah, there is a skill in that. So paying attention to trends and what's happening right now, one of the things that you mentioned before is OpenClaw. For those that maybe haven't heard of what OpenClaw is, do you just want to give a little bit of rundown, what you see is happening there, and should we be looking into this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the easiest ways is I explain it is I like to think of the way I'll explain ChatGPT, because I think most people have used that or understand that. ChatGPT for a long time was primarily a prompt interface, meaning you ask it a question, it answers your question. You can ask it to go look at something or figure something out. Like a year or two ago, I had it help with car research when I was looking at buying a car. Claude goes one step further, where Claude and ChatGPT is starting to do more of this now, but I should probably just be really clear. Claude is different in the sense of you have project files, you can give it instructions, it has more connections available to it. So it can be kind of more all encompassing. So like in our consultancy, we've built like this information layer. It looks at transcripts and ClickUp, and it looks at client calls and emails, and it can think because it has access to all these resources. I can ask it questions or have it set up a new ClickUp task for a new client that we're onboarding, for example. What OpenClaw does is OpenClaw is kind of like, it's almost like ripping off the guardrails that Claude has or ChatGPT, meaning there's only so many things they'll let you do. There's things they won't let you do. OpenClaw is a little bit more like, oh, interesting. We could do that this one of three ways. And so you have to set it up kind of for yourself. You either need a dedicated machine or use a virtual host. We use a Hostinger for that. They have a really easy OpenClaw setup. And what OpenClaw does is you can still train it. But the main thing I will use to explain the differences is Claude, I generally can't tell it to update its own file about something it just did. So for example, say I asked it to, every time I say the word green, it repeats back to me, a bunch of instructions of how the color green is made. And then if I said, hey, you were wrong, you need to update your file so that you know how the color green is made. It doesn't know how to do that. You have to go in and update that file yourself. OpenClaw can update itself. And so that's one of the ways that I really enjoy is like if I have OpenClaw. So for the way I use it the most is I have a weekly podcast and newsletter on subscriptions. I'll take a transcript from the podcast. I will drop it into OpenClaw, and I have created an agent within OpenClaw that has all these trainings and instructions and guidelines on my brand and other subscription brands and all this information. And I have it write my YouTube title, my description, it writes my newsletter based off of that. And then it writes, 10 different social posts for LinkedIn and Twitter. And I'll be honest, Mitch, it's often better than what I would write myself, or, it does it in 10 minutes that if I wanted to write that, it would take me an hour or more just to get partway through it. And so it's very, very fast. It thinks, it can remember. So that's one of the reasons I like OpenClaw, although I do use both. Claude is, I think, a lot more structured, and it connects to other software safely. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to find time to build with both. But OpenClaw is kind of my, hey, let's go do this thing. Let's go figure out how to do this thing. And it does it.
If I'd like just listening to this, and to be fair, I purposely haven't used OpenClaw myself because I know I would just spend too much time working on that kind of thing. And I'm kind of just waiting until maybe it becomes more mainstream for a little bit of an easier setup. I'm not sure. But just listening, it kind of seems like, okay, your ChatGPTs, your Claude, the tools that we can use with our hands, input to type or talk. OpenClaw seems more like an actual employee that you can work with.
You can't. So within Claude, there's an ability to, Claude has a chat like ChatGPT, and then Claude has what's called a co-work, which is similar to it. You can build agents, and it has Claude co-work. So for a lot of people, maybe you're trying to build your own app or build your own software experience. Claude co-work can work really, really well for that as well. I think that the main difference is that like OpenClaw can run independently. So since it's on a server, I actually can message it from my phone or my computer, and I can tell it to do something from my phone. Whereas with Claude, I have to open up the app on my phone, but the app on my phone isn't connected to the desktop version where, say, other things. So it's difficult to necessarily manage all this. I mean, technically they're connected, but it's not like I can run the projects. I would say there are a few tools that making OpenClaw easier, but I would say this. My general, like, I'm trying to get my wife to get a little bit more into this in her job. She uses ChatGPT a lot. Just imagine a very simple exercise of you could download Claude Desktop, connect your calendar and your email, and if you use Google Drive or something else, you could do that. And you could just very simply walk through a process of getting a daily summary of your day, or at the end of the day, getting a daily summary of what your next day is. And that exercise, it's not as easy as I just made it sound. It will take you an hour or two to do all this, but that will get you set up with experiencing what running AI is like and how you can set up an agent, because instead of telling me what my schedule is, you'll end up with a run this every day at 7 a.m. And email me or message me on WhatsApp or Telegram or some other app service. And so that's a really great like first step experiment. If you've been using like ChatGPT for questions and you're wondering like how I can unlock maybe sort of some more of the power that's available.
So for you personally, by using OpenClaw, I'll say that you're more of a power user than most people. How much time, now that it's set up, not the setup process, but how much time do you think you save, or do you get back or get input by using these AI tools?
At least a few hours a week. I used Claude Monday night to create a 24-page presentation in about an hour. So a lot of time. But the thing is there's just so much more I know that's just right there with like how I manage client follow-ups, with how I manage sales outreach, with how I manage partnership interactions that I'm still doing manually. And so that's where I start to freak out a little bit of, I could automate all this. Like those, that thing I said about, hey, I have calls back to back all day and I have an hour or two at night where I'm doing follow-ups. AI could do 95% of that for me. And so I'm seeing that I'm already saving a couple hours a week, at least at minimum. I see an opportunity where I could be saving 10 to 15 hours a week. Just if I can invest the 5 or 10 hours it would take to get me there.
It wasn't that long ago when a social media marketing manager within a company was not a job role. It didn't exist. Right. Do you think there will be a new job role, just as simple as that, as the AI integration expert or whatever the name may be in most businesses moving forward?
There already is, because if you think about it, it's like, say, for example, I wanted to hire a financial analyst, say at my company. I don't need to hire a financial analyst anymore. I need to hire somebody who's good at managing AI agents that can do the financial computing, because that's one of the easiest applications of AI, which is, here's all our inputs from dollars, here's all our outputs for spend, calculate for our forecasting. Okay, now what is happening? What is going on? Give me some feedback about my business, and it can spit out reports. So now I need somebody who's better at managing the input. So think of it like I was a revenue engineer, somebody in the past where it's, you have HubSpot or all these different tech systems and you're trying to track revenue and operations. And so you have these technical people who manage how these softwares communicate and build reports. Well, AI is now going to be replacing a lot of that. And AI prompt engineers is one way to call them, is replacing that. And even your social media manager, like my OpenClaw agent, like I haven't had it do it yet because I don't want to take this jump yet, but I could have it do all the posting for me as well. It's already my social media manager because it's already writing posts. I could also connect it and let it post them for me if I wanted to do that.
Okay. So moving on from here, one of the expertise that we know you've got is around subscriptions. So First of all, just tell me a little bit about subscription prescription. Have I said that right? Got that the right way around?
You've almost gotten to 10 times having to say it. And
tell me about that business, where it started, what it does, who do you help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mentioned the software company with Autoship Cloud. When we were planning our integration into Shopify, we launched a newsletter to try to raise brand awareness for us and potentially acquire customers. And early on, that's all subscription prescription was. It was the name of a newsletter, and I was a persona, the subscription doc. So I've got your weekly dose of subscription knowledge. But as I continued to do that, we got feedback, and I was already working a lot with our own subscription clients on Autoship Cloud. I realized that my business partner and I both realized there's a lack of subscription experts in this space. And so we started dabbling more and more with that consulting piece. And then eventually the newsletter became a newsletter and a podcast. We started doing some small consulting projects and then launched a full-fledged consultancy and agency. So what we really specialize in is subscription-focused businesses that are looking to acquire more subscribers and how to keep those subscribers. So we help people figure out subscription offers. Most products, if you're selling pet food, you discount 10% to subscribe and save. Well, we work with you to figure out what's a little bit more compelling. Can we do a dog treat that comes as a gift for any subscriber? Looking at your customer experience touch points, how you're onboarding people, how you're communicating with them around their billing reminders, how you're working with them when they go to make subscription touch points. And so we do a lot of just setup work for small brands that are just getting started in subscriptions. And we have a ton of free resources on our website as well, with guides and templates and all these things. And then we have a lot of ongoing clients that are a lot larger, where we're essentially just working to constantly optimize and improve the profitability they have from their existing subscription customers.
Now, I've always loved the subscription business model, ongoing revenue, keeping going. What kind of businesses, can you give me just a rundown of maybe different industries and businesses to give an idea of what can be used for subscription? Because I think there's a lot of people that could have an existing business listening that maybe haven't thought about adding a subscription model to their business.
Yeah, the one I like to think about is, within consulting. And so I was on a legal podcast recently, and I think this is a really easy example. So think of a lawyer. A lawyer typically only works with you when you have a problem, right? Like if you're big enough, you have a lawyer on that you're a standing retainer on, but lawyers work through retainers, meaning you write them a $5,000 check, and when you call them, they start deducting that amount. But there's plenty of times, and this is the example I would use, if in your business you have occasion where maybe somebody's not your ideal customer, meaning somebody's given you that $5,000 check or whatever it is. Do you have other people that come in to you and ask for something similar, or a similar question, a similar problem all the time? So from a lawyer perspective, let's say a business is just getting started up. Now with the age of AI and stuff, you could use AI to maybe generate some of these documents. But let's say, for example, you just wanted to run a startup membership where for $200 a month, you get access to all of these free legal templates that have already been vetted that you can use for your business. And there's an open office hours once a month for an hour, or, you get X number of times for just like a free phone call. So something very low touch for that. But you can build that. If that builds up 10 people, right, that's $2,000, 100 people, it's $20,000 a month. So I do think when you're not in what may seem like a normal, typical subscription-based business, thinking about, is there another level of service that I could potentially be offering? So just as an opposite example, think about a gym membership. Most gym memberships, at least here in the United States, they're very difficult to cancel, which is why I like talking about them. But most people have, like our local gym, there's really only two membership options. There's the cheapest option, and then there's an option where if you want to visit any of their locations instead of just a very specific location, you can pay a little bit more. And there's a few other little perks. But how easy would it be to offer a subscription, a premium subscription tier where you have like a world-class personal trainer, and in addition to getting the subscription, the gym membership where you can show up every time, you also get an hour a week with this trainer. and the value of that isn't $50 a month, it's $500 a month or $1,000 a month. So sometimes subscriptions can often be like the lower tier of like how we're trying to just capture a little bit more value, or it can be the premium offering, which is, hey, people really want to do this. So for example, in like business coaching, you could have just an open subscription to anybody who wants to come to monthly meetups, be on our group chat, access to free resources. But a premium membership might be like a very dedicated mastermind group where there's just you and 4 other people that are involved, and there's like, curriculum and all these things. So I think either way you can think about it, but otherwise it's a lot of service-based businesses do have that opportunity. We deal with a lot of physical-based products, like pet food and protein powder, things like that, ones that feel pretty obvious. And then even others where you have different apps or digital services as well.
Okay. No, I love it. And it just gets your mind thinking. Okay. So when subscriptions are not performing well, where do you usually look first?
Honestly, I look at the front touch point. Well, there's 2 main things. So the first might be a misalignment on product and offer. So let's just stick with, I like using protein powder because that's just a really simple example. Let's say you start marketing your protein powder as the best tasting, most easily dissolvable protein powder in the market, and you start getting a big spike in cancellations. One of the most common reasons is because there's an issue with the product. Maybe it's not dissolving as easily. Maybe there was a bad batch that came through. Maybe there's something wrong with the product. Then the other side of that maybe is like, hey, we've been selling this product based on its easily dissolvability and how great it tastes. But most people that have been buying from us actually don't care about the taste. They care about the quality of ingredients, or they care about getting collagen in their protein powder, for example. And so paying attention to like what people are buying and why is usually one of the biggest things. So that's where we like to say we mess with the offer. The offer is the most important part of the subscription. And the offer is essentially what people are buying from you and what you're giving them in return. So as I mentioned, like the gym examples, a basic gym membership offer is you can come to the gym whenever you want. A mid-tier is you can go to any of our gyms whenever you want, and you get access to the sauna and the steam room. And then the premium is, and you get access to a personal trainer for X number of hours. So those are the different offers. Those are the reasons why somebody might buy something. And so if you're running a subscription business and it's not working, or you've hit a lull or something like that, I would look at your offer. What are you selling? Can you make it more compelling? And I don't mean price discounting, because that might work in the short term, but it's a quick road down to trouble. Is what else can I bundle here? Is there something I can make this feel more valuable and more compelling to people so that they'll want to buy it from me?
What do you think business owners misunderstand about churn?
Yeah, churn is, so I'll use a fun example. Because, it wasn't that long ago I was in the dating world. I mean, it was 5, 6, 7 years ago now. But when I was dating, online dating, I would hear these horror stories sometimes of a girl going to break up with you go out a couple times and the girl says, I think you're great, but I don't think it's a good fit. I don't want to see you anymore. And there are so many times when I hear these horror stories of the guy like losing his mind. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I'm amazing. Like, F you, like all this stuff. And so that's how I think about how a lot of brand owners and founders think about churn, is they think like, I'm going to be like the gym, or I'm going to be like this douchey guy where I'm going to try to close the door so you can't leave. And so if that's how you think about churn, then everything you do is trying to game the system and trying to trick people. It ends up building like a really bad customer experience. You're going to get hated on Reddit and social forums and all this stuff. It's going to come get you in the end. The difference is like, okay, with that same dating questionnaire, it's like, hey, I'm just kind of curious. Like, what were you looking for? Oh, well, I was looking for somebody who wants to have kids and you don't have kids. Okay, great. Well, as a guy, I need to be better on my dating profile, making it clear that I'm not interested in having kids. And that way I can acquire a better subscriber by being clear on that. Or hey, I was looking for a guy who was a little bit more successful. I feel like I'm at the stage of my life I don't want to be supporting somebody else's career. And then it was like, oh, wait a second. Did I not make it clear that I had a trust fund that I've been living off of? Like, I'm rich, babe. Like, and so then it's like, it's a marketing problem. It's like, I didn't do a good enough job marketing myself up front that I'm loaded with money. And so that's how we should be thinking about churn, is what can I learn and what can I take from that? Somebody had a bad experience. They didn't understand something. What can I do at the front end of the process with how I market, the offer I'm giving, and how I onboard somebody. Like, what am I explaining? Like, a very simple example is a sleep supplement I bought a year ago. It looked really, really cool. It's this hot cocoa mix. You make a cup of hot cocoa with this and you drink it, helps you fall asleep. Well, I'm looking at the bottle and I'm like, well, how long before I go to bed should I take this? Because, if I take it at 9 o'clock and I'm going to bed at 11, I don't want to fall asleep at 9:30, right? And so it's nowhere to be found on the bottle. I looked on their website, and so I actually DM'd the founder because that's where I had found it. And he's like, oh, take it an hour before bed. And I thought, man, well, I told him this, but man, that needs to be on the bottle. That needs to be on the packaging, because you want people, when they have your product or their service, to have a really great first experience, because otherwise they're not going to keep using the product. They're not going to keep coming back. And so that's what we should be thinking about with churn and all these things, is I'm trying to figure out what people are doing, when they're taking it, what's working, what's not, and trying to, if you can identify from the people that's working. I was talking this other brand, they do mushroom coffee. They found they were surveying their customers a ton, and found out that making it warm with milk tasted the best out of all of these different ways to prep it. And the people that made it that way were actually like on the subscription longer, right? Like, you can tie this data together. And so what do they start doing is, when you buy the product, you get this email that explains, hey, like, the best way to make this is with warm milk, and like, here's the steps. Here's what our other customers have said. And now you have an amazing product experience the very first time. You're like, wow, this tastes really good, as opposed to the people like, mushroom coffee, I knew it tastes bad. So anyway, I've been rambling.
So Matt, we've gone from mushroom coffee to cocoa to dating advice. I think your next business, Matthew, should be helping out, those guys put together their online profile for dating with data points that actually match.
I might actually do that, Mitch. I think it's a really fun problem to solve. I did help a friend set up a dating profile once because he looked like a serial killer. So we got to get this changed here.
But you're coming from experience, so I love it. Okay. What small change then tends to have the biggest impact on keeping the right customers longer? Now, what I'm thinking of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, most subscriptions that I may have, I probably should do this with everything, to be fair, because when I go to cancel it, it always says, well, maybe we'll keep, for the next 3 months, we'll make it 50% for you. Do you want to stay? And I'm like, sure. Okay.
All right.
Is that something that gives a big impact, or what are the other changes in there that make things work?
With that specific example, you should spend a little bit of time testing some things to see what's going to be effective. Like, for us, we're finding a really, really quick, easy tactic is a founder video. When somebody goes to click cancel, the very first thing they see is like Mitch explaining, this is the vision behind my mushroom coffee for people on Tinder. This is why we created this and why we're doing this. And, if you want to pause, skip, cancel, that's great. We'd love to welcome you back if you do still leave. That actually has like a 10%.
Or have you tried it with warm milk? Yeah,
exactly. You're hitting it right on the head. Exactly. It's like, hey, that right there is the best way to lower churn, is just like a personal note. But honestly, the biggest thing, it comes back to the offer is you're not spending enough time testing your offers. Is you're getting people, say you run a special or you run a discount, so you get a bunch of price discount seekers. You're not testing with gift with purchases. One of the other things that we really love testing are longer commitments. So imagine we'll use the gym experience. Let's say you go into the gym. Now, in the US, most gyms are trying to lock you into they get you to keep you from canceling. But let's say you could do a month-to-month plan, a 6-month commitment plan, or a year commitment plan. Now, the 6-month commitment plan is cheaper month to month, but you have to pay for the 6 months up front. The year is even cheaper, but you have to pay for the year up front. But the year also comes with, 10 free hours with the personal trainer, and it comes with this and comes with this. So the thing is I'm getting you to spend $20 a month. You're going to give me,
couple $100 up front for the annual. So I can add more value there. So that's actually one of the methods we like is, is there a reason why somebody might want to commit to something longer? And the gym is a great example because you think, well, I'm not going to stop a month from now. I'm going to keep coming for the next 6 months or the next year. So it makes sense to try to sell or book that in there. And so that's how I like to think about it too, with trying to quote unquote, lock people in an ethical manner, which is, hey, you could buy this month to month. Or how about we sell you a 3-month subscription of protein powder? You'll get 3 bags, you'll go through them, and then it'll renew in 3 months. It's you can stack more value because people are spending more with you up front.
So what about the key metrics? What are the ones that actually matter for a healthy subscription business?
Yeah, so what we like saying is a North Star metric is lifetime value, or LTV, and that's essentially is the average amount of money somebody spends with you over the lifetime of their subscription. And so usually you might want to time bound this, meaning looking at this as like what's a 3-month LTV or what's a 6-month LTV. And what that allows you to do is, because it gets influenced by how much they spend up front, right? Because that's part of the metric. So if I can do something to maybe get somebody to buy more. So I mentioned that 3-month protein powder example. Somebody who buys 3 months worth of protein powder up front is going to be worth more on average than the month-to-month subscriber that comes in, because on average, they're not going to make it to 3 months. So that's the first one, is looking at lifetime value. I do think it's important to pay attention to like conversion rates, how many people that come to your site or your store or your website, how many are converting to buying from you, how many are converting to buy a subscription option, and then just your overall churn rate, paying attention to that, seeing what different actions you can take that are going to both lower churn, and then anytime churn gets lower, LTV goes up, as an example. So everything kind of rolls up to lifetime value.
Okay. Now, if we head back to Commerce Catalyst, thinking about the community side of things, how do you feel that changes business owners' approach to growth, and why be part of a community?
Yeah, I think the fun part about a community is you end up talking to people who have already done what you're doing, or have already had the sleepless nights that you're in the middle of. And so you'll end up getting advice very quickly, like, oh, you need to go talk to this lawyer. I worked with them and they made all of our problems go away. Or, oh no, I've got a sourcing partner for that. Or, oh, you've got to talk to this email agency. Or you got to stop doing that. It's a waste of time and you're going to burn money on that approach. Just go like this, or go watch what so-and-so is doing. So that's, I think, one of the simplest things is you're going to learn from people that have walked the path you're walking. And then I think for a lot of people, if you enjoy that energy and if you enjoy like learning and connecting and also empowering other people, you will find other people that are behind you on the journey you're working that you can also help and be a part of. So I think that's what makes it pretty fun. And that's a big part of my personality. And I think that's what the community's kind of taken on, is that kind of ethos, that approach to everything. And so we often have like, people love speaking at them. They love coming and contributing. It's just a really fun thing because we, especially small businesses are, when you're a team of 5, kind of thing, it could feel really, really lonely.
Have you ever experienced this yourself, or do you see this in small business owners about that mindset shift? Have you experienced a mindset shift in part of your journey and gone, oh, when you look at it like this way, and it's made a big difference?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is like realizing where I can be special in my own work and not do every little thing myself. And so, I mentioned open claw writing a lot of my content. Like people follow me because of the content, but they don't follow me because I'm a great writer. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much, I don't need to be worried about selling myself as a writer. I'm a subscription strategist. So if I can continue to guide strategy and lead strategy, that's where I can be impactful. And the same thing on the community side. I'm really great at bringing people together and sparking those conversations and stuff. And so I think for me, the biggest mindset shift over the last handful of years has been that of, and it all started with when I was doing the community and getting people coming out. I started asking myself, like, why can't my regular job be as easy as it is to run this? Like I can get 50 people to come out to hear this thing, but I'm having a hard time getting software demos. right? So, and why is that? It's like, okay, well, maybe I'm just average at this other thing, but I'm special at this. And so I think that's also kind of like a big thing for me is figuring out where I can be special, where I can show up. And now in my business, as I'm trying to think of that, as we're hiring and scaling the community, it's about where can I put people that are going to be better than I am at operations, at organization, at follow-ups and all these things so that I can still build and focus on vision. And that's been the biggest mindset shift for me the last few years.
I often find in communities as well, when you're in them and you can see other people doing great things, and it can sort of open your mind a little bit to go, well, if they can do that, I can do that. As opposed to a lot of people have that limiting belief that they're at a certain level and it's not possible. And so that's a bit of a breakthrough that I see a lot of people go through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I feel like we're living in a subscription world, okay? From Netflix to probably toothbrushes now, okay? Back when I was younger, like when I was a kid, I had to save up for to buy a CD, let's say, for an example. So I'd save the whole month, you'd get that one CD that you could listen to, and that was it. Where nowadays, I kind of find those young kids with the same price or whatever, you get everything straight away. So you get all the music, you get all the TV from just this one little subscription, and then it's sort of just moving on to everything else. In some ways it makes sense, but we no longer have ownership. Where do you see the whole subscription space going? I mean, is it just getting more and more? Is it just going to take over and we all just pay a subscription to everything? Our cars, our houses? Like, where does it start and end?
Well, it's funny because there are Volvo has a subscription program now for their cars. You're making me think of like when you're a baby, a baby's born and they get signed up for Amazon Prime. That's what's going to start happening, and that unlocks all your other lifelong subscriptions. I think what I see is actually like part of how I see AI. I think that there will always be some subscriptions, like to have access to a streaming platform or something like that. There will always be some kind of subscription. But I do think that we'll soon see a change where it will be so easy for us through AI to connect to things. So, for example, I might have a subscription to the Weather Channel because I'm traveling a lot. Maybe in the future, I don't need a subscription to that anymore. I just have an AI subscription, and my AI agent pays a little bit of money to access the information when they need it. Protein powder, instead of being on a subscription that's preset, there's just my AI just orders protein powder when I tell it that I'm getting low, and I can voice to text that, say like, hey, AI, like I'm low on protein powder, and then it's going to go do it. So I do think there's an element. I think I see a future with AI where there's actually, yes, there's big machines and all this stuff happening, but that as individual users, that we will actually have a lot more control over what we spend and what we're doing. And I think it has to be that way because I just think of like my kids and all the streaming platforms and all the things that are happening. How do they find like not the distraction, like the ability to focus? Like, this is what I want to do. I don't need to be distracted by 50 things. And I think that that's where I'm hoping that's where we're headed.
Matt, really appreciate your time. Great conversations, real insights, whether you're a business owner or in the dating world, I'd say. Before we wrap up, where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about the Commerce Catalyst or prescription? Where do we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Matthew Holman, Subscription Doc, or you can go to our websites, thesubscriptiondoc.com or ccatalyst.co to learn more about Commerce Catalyst. Our Slack community is free to join, so even it doesn't matter where you are. If you want to come in and say hello and get some help and ask some questions, you're going to get some great feedback too.
I love it. Now, if you're listening today and you've realized there's a gap in how you're thinking about growth, maybe subscriptions in your business, think about your opportunity and what's there. If you're figuring out what to fix first and how to move forward with clarity, you can always book a free breakthrough session with myself and the Coachbirds team. It's about just helping you identify the biggest constraint, map out a simple, practical plan to move your business forward. Now, Matt, thanks again for being here, and to everyone listening, focus on building a business that actually works for you, not just one that looks good on paper. Matthew, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you.
Let's talk small business. I appreciate you tuning in. If you got value, hit subscribe, like, or drop a comment. It spreads the word and might just help another legend get their breakthrough.